The Xbox Game Pass library is so stacked with blockbuster titles like Forza, Skyrim, and Sea of Thieves that it's so easy to overlook some of the amazing little games nestled alongside them. From spiritual journeys to extreme frisbee action, there are loads of amazing games that you might have overlooked. So here are some of our favourite hidden gems for you to check out on Xbox Game Pass.
Humble Games treated Xbox Game Pass members to a host of delightful titles last year, one of which was the incredibly endearing Archvale. Archvale is a throwback to the days of classic RPGs, offering you a vast, pixelated fantasy realm to explore full of verdant fields, quaint villages, and charming frog people. But beneath that cutesy surface, it's also a high-octane action game where you are constantly besieged by enemy attacks that cover the screen. But there's a twist. Since the game limits how often you can dodge, you'll have to learn to weave nimbly between these assaults, all while keeping a steady barrage of your own attacks going in the other direction, of course. Fortunately, Archvale arms you with all sorts of absurd weapons, from cactus flails to slime lasers, which make that second part worth all the time you spent nearly getting destroyed. Once you found your rhythm, Archvale quickly becomes one of the most satisfying games around.
Darkest Dungeon is also a fantasy RPG of sorts, but its gloomy labyrinths are a far cry from Archvale's sunny scenery. The game starts off on a positive note as you inherit a huge gothic manor from one of your relatives. There's always a catch though, isn't there? And it turns out that the catacombs beneath your new home are absolutely crawling with monstrosities, so you're gonna have to assemble a team of mighty heroes to clear them out. The thing that really makes Darkest Dungeon stand out though is while you're battling these nightmarish critters, each member of your party's stress meter will slowly increase. Or not so slowly if they happen to witness something especially terrifying. Let it get too high and they're at risk of taking on an affliction of one kind or another. There are a lot of scary games out there, but Darkest Dungeon might be the only one where your characters can become so frightened that they have an actual heart attack, adding a whole new tactical dimension to how you manage your party.
Death's Door is a game where you're stuck in the ultimate dead-end job, harvesting the souls of mortals whose time has come to an end, which it turns out actually involves a lot more paperwork and bureaucracy than you might think. Things get a lot more exciting when one of the creatures you've been sent to bring back refuses to go quietly. So begins an epic adventure across the forgotten lands that lie between this world and the next. The whole place has the look and feel of a once beautiful painting that has been faded and warped by the passage of time, making the game's world an eerie delight to explore. On top of that, Death's Door is a loving homage to action RPGs of days gone by, full of brain-scratching dungeon puzzles, clever gadgets, and towering bosses to take down. By putting its own distinctive style on a tried and tested formula, it delivers one of the best all-round packages on Xbox Game Pass. And when you're done pondering your own mortality, Death's Door also has hours of fast-paced combat for you to enjoy, with a smooth 60 FPS frame rate on the Xbox Series X and S to help you stay on this side of the doorway.
Okay, time to throw some frisbees. Windjammers 2 might just be the raddest game on Xbox Game Pass. It's sick, it's cool, it's extreme with a capital X, it's wildly over the top, totally ridiculous, and incredibly fun to play. The basic game is simple. Two players smack a frisbee back and forth, trying to land it in the opposition goal. Because the gameplay is so finely tuned, each match quickly becomes a fast-paced battle of bluffs, counters, reversals, and returns, all feeding into the super meter, which allows you to unleash a ludicrous signature maneuver. From its zany characters and eye-scorching visual effects to the preposterous arenas and the jamming soundtrack, everything about Windjammers 2 is dialed up to 11. The whole thing kind of feels like being attacked by an energy drink or an 80s rock song, but in a good way.
Spiritfarer may seem a little familiar if you've been paying attention throughout the video. Once again, you seem to have found yourself a job ferrying souls from this world to the next, only this time you don't have to smack someone silly with a broadsword along the way. Instead, this management sim has you looking after each departing soul that you encounter, tending to their needs to make sure that their passage into the afterlife is a smooth one. As you sail along together, you'll get to know them better and help them settle their unfinished business before they go. The attention to detail in each little animation helps to bring each character to life, and they're all so vividly drawn that you'll truly miss them when it's finally time for their journey to end. Adorable as it is, Spiritfarer is probably one of the most quietly affecting games on Xbox.
Spelunky 2 is a procedurally generated 2D platformer set inside a bunch of caves on the moon. Delve down into the depths of these lunar caverns and you'll find all sorts of stuff. Some of them are things you might expect to encounter underground, like snakes and moles. Others are altogether more surprising, like witch doctors who can conjure freaky skulls to come floating through the air. But you know the main thing you'll encounter in each of these caves? Pain. Because Spelunky 2 absolutely does not mess around. Each run sends you through a gauntlet of unpredictable challenges with traps and enemies combining in all sorts of unexpected ways. But clawing your way through these deadly chambers is also a rewarding experience, with all kinds of hidden paths and surprises to be uncovered by players who are willing to dig deep enough. If you're after an Xbox Game Pass title that will charm and challenge you in equal measure, look no further than Spelunky 2, a true hidden gem in which you're looking for hidden gems.
On its broodingly picturesque surface, Kentucky Route Zero is a point-and-click adventure about a truck driver on his way to make a delivery. But you won't spend much time here searching for clues or figuring out which items interact with what part of the scenery. Instead, Kentucky Route Zero is all about the conversations which take place on that long and winding road. Each time you get to chatting with another character, the game presents you with a branching list of dialogue options to choose from. But you're not just mining the NPCs for useful info or deciding how much of a jerk you want to be about your answers like you would in many other games. Here you're deciding what the lead character's childhood was like and what sort of relationship they have with their family. You're recalling the words to their favourite song and unlocking their deepest memories. Essentially, you're writing the game's story as you play, and while the strange twists and turns of the plot are all largely predetermined, your choices can make a profound impression upon the journey itself.
Nobody Saves the World begins with a fungal calamity that threatens to take over the entire planet. To make things worse, the wizard who would normally be there to put things right has gone missing, and the person who inherited his wand is a total nobody. Although that actually turns out to be an advantage in this action RPG, allowing you to transform your bland, unremarkable, totally vanilla self into a variety of different forms. From fantasy staples like knights, monks, and rangers, to wackier choices like the iron-pumping bodybuilder. Each of these forms comes with its own set of unlockable special moves. But things get really interesting once you start mix and matching these special powers. You can play as a rat imbued with holy powers, or a mermaid who gallops like a horse. Who says that an egg can't breathe fire just as well as a dragon? Not this game anyway. This shape-shifting ability makes Nobody Saves the World one of the most chaotically fun titles on Xbox Game Pass, especially when you get to see your bizarre forms tearing up in 4K on the Xbox Series X.
Video games let you roleplay as all sorts of glamorous figures, but the protagonist of Dead Cells really isn't one of them. Here you play as a parasitic critter who survives by hopping inside the body of whatever poor fellow it happens to find rotting away inside the castle jail. It's not pretty, but it does make the perfect foundation for a roguelike action game. The rest of the castle is filled with other undead creatures, and should one of them get the better of you, you'll find yourself slinking back to your cell to hijack another and start again from scratch. And for a weird slug inside of a dead guy, you sure can move. The speed and agility with which Dead Cells lets you scramble through its dungeons is totally thrilling, even on the runs that end in a spike trap and a pile of red goo. For parkour enthusiasts with a morbid sense of humour, Dead Cells is definitely the way to go.
With its beguiling minimalistic art style and smooth jazz soundtrack, Genesis Noir is the sort of game that can keep you totally captivated, even if you don't really know what's going on. On one level, the story of this noirish point-and-click adventure is a tale as old as time. There's a smoky bar, a sudden romance, and a jealous ex. But from there, the game goes freewheeling out in all sorts of directions, like an improvised jazz riff or a metaphysical anomaly. It goes back and forth in time, shoots out to encapsulate the whole cosmos, and zooms in to focus on a single flower seed, before whirring back to the place it all began. It's a game that asks you to feel your way through, rather than trying to understand it in a literal, linear fashion. And if you do, you'll be rewarded with one of the most unique video gaming experiences you've ever had. A true hidden gem providing an unforgettable experience.
Tunic might not be the noisiest game to arrive on Xbox Game Pass in 2022, but it's a must-play for fans of old-school adventure games and cartoon foxes alike. Friendship ended with Lucky and Tails. The fox from Tunic is my best friend now. This isometric adventure boasts an adorable art style and characters who speak in a completely indecipherable language, leaving you to pretty much work everything out for yourself. It's a hilarious design choice that pushes you to get creative and experiment each time you encounter a new puzzle or an item, making for a truly personal journey. To mix things up, it also features some surprisingly Elden Ring, Dark Souls-like combat, which will have you dodge rolling and shield blocking for dear life as you're assailed by gelatinous blobs and weird skeletons. Some 6 years in the making, Tunic is one of the most curious games you'll find anywhere this year and well worth checking out.
As well as sprawling blockbusters, Xbox Game Pass is home to some of the weirdest and wildest indie games out there, each with their own distinct charms and ingenious twists. So before your next Forza race, why not give one of these unsung heroes a go? Let us know about any other hidden gems you've encountered down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Bye!